Hi everybody, thought I'd do a little video on my kiln here that I kind of made. I bought an old kiln off of I think it was Facebook Marketplace. So you know, you want to find something cheap, so I got this one for like $200, and I was hoping the elements were okay. The people seemed to think the elements were okay, but after I bought it I found out they weren't, so I had to buy new elements and install them. But and they're a little pricey, you know, they're a couple $100. But so basically what you need is a kiln, and then the next thing is the elements. So if you get one cheap with elements that are good, this won't cost you too much. But I stripped the guts out of the kiln, left kind of this box on here, and I'm getting a text from my real estate agent. Anyway, so I stripped the guts out, and there's connections in here for the elements, which I'm going, you know, you'll utilize at some point. And this is where the what's the name goes in, the temperature sensor, the kiln temperature sensor. They're about $15 on Amazon. You need the long one to go in towards the center of the kiln. And I just put these switches on here. They're little lights in them, you know, you don't need them, but they're just a way of breaking the circuit. So anyway, I utilize this, you know, the hole where the kiln temperature thing goes in. And then I added this box. It's all stuff on Amazon. Let me get down here. I need something to kneel on. The old new knees. There's a cushion. Okay. So let's go in here. I just stopped the recording, but I started again. But anyway, here's this. The most expensive thing is this PID right here, which I cut into the box I bought off Amazon, and that's your computer right there. That will control the temperature, and it's programmable. It's called a PID. And don't ask me what it stands for because it's complicated. So anyway, I had a little pointer here. So all right, so here's the PID. It comes with instructions. And to wire it, I've got a 220 circuit here in the garage. So I bring the 220 circuit into there. Here's a little trial cord I had laying around. And that 220 circuit goes to these solid state relays. Put a light on them. They're on Amazon. They're not expensive either. But they're your switches for the high voltage. The PID will switch to low voltage, and it senses the temperature and knows when to turn those solid state relays on and off. And they go to the elements. So as this is sensing the temperature, the PID, as it's sensing the temperature, it switches them on and off to whatever you want. And it goes in stages. So, you can put your first, you can program the first stage to go to 200 and stay there as long as you want. And then whatever time amount, it'll switch to the next passage or passage, just made a word up. It'll go to the next stage. So it looks a little complicated, but it's really not. They got these heat, the heat things that release the heat on the bottom of the solid state relays. They could get hot, I guess. But anyway, the thermostat comes in here and goes right to the controller, the PID, and it's programmable up to, I think, I forget how many, but it's more stages than I'll ever use. And it goes, like I said, I go 25, 50 degrees an hour or whatever I want. The beginning 200 stage is the most important. The longer you cook that, the safer your rocks are from the higher heat. I saw Jim did, cook those rocks, and he didn't go too high, he just went too fast. And you learn that by busting rocks, by popping them. So anyway, and then I just put a switch on top to, will shut the whole unit off. It breaks the circuit. So the box is screwed on here, and then I just ran some pipe over to the old box, and that's where the wires go in. Anybody in our group that has questions, I'll answer them if you want to build one. Like I said, you can get these are about $100, the PID, and you could get ones for like $30, but you can't program them. They will just, cook at the temperature you put in for the time that you put in. And it's hotter than hell, man. So that's that. I'm trying to think what would be the most complicated part, and there's really no complicated parts if you just take your time and do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook. Jim, I'm going to start cooking, I promise. I got the evacuate on the very bottom. I got probably 50 pounds of evacuate in there or more, and then on top of that I got Kia Cook. Sweating like a pig here. The evacuate takes the highest temperatures, so they're on the bottom. Kia Cook takes the second highest temperatures. I think the evacuate's like 850. The Kia Cook's up 650, 700, something like that. The Brazilian agate will be up around 600, 650. And then Flint Ridge will be about 550. So I'm going to take, you got to put this cage in here too. Don't ask me how I found out about that, because if that metal cage touches you don't want the rocks touching the side, but if that metal cage touches the elements, it makes the thing a little shocky. Good treatment for me, shock treatment, but you might not like that. So on top, at the very top will be the Flint Ridge, and that'll be going off at about 550. So I'll set the initial program for 550 and let it soak there for 10 hours or whatever. And at that point the Flint Ridge should be done, and I'll test that. And then I'll go down and I'll check the next layer, the Brazilian agate under that, to see if anything's cooked. I won't have to check the evacuate or the Kia Cook at that point, because they take a much higher temperature. Some of the Brazilian agate may be cooked, but I got a nice little pile of Brazilian agate. I bought it off of Neolithics down there when I stopped in Salt Craig on my way to the Texas Snap-In. So that ought to be cool. It's some cool looking stuff, So pray to God this stuff works out nice because it's beautiful. And the Flint Bridge got I got 50 pounds of that or so. If you guys remember that one video I showed you this stuff. And some of it is pretty good looking stuff. The one big rock I found is awesome. We just have to see what happens. It looks like it has lines in it and it may brick crack there, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to get that to cook without it cracking. But even the pieces will be awesome. That was nice. The big rock I showed that was around 10 pounds. I got a whole pile of that stuff. So some agate. This is when I was at the nap bin, I bought a big block of Fort Hood, I think it is. I cooked some of that to, it was like 40-some pound block. I cooked some of that already. I didn't cook it all. I took it up to, I'm thinking 400. I soaked it at 400. Look at the sweat dripping off me. I cooked it to 400 and it was nice, but I think it could take a little more. And I'm looking forward to cooking that, but I'm going to wait because that's a lower temperature than than the lowest temperature I'll have in this cook. You know, it's going to take a few days, Jim, but we're going to get you something. So that's my kiln. If you guys got any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. It's pretty slick, you know, it works great. The price is right. Like I said, the most expensive item would be your elements, but if you can find an old kiln with elements, you know, you can get them for 100, 200 bucks easily. Then this other equipment's going to cost you. The PID, like I said, is about 100 bucks, and the other parts aren't $100. So a couple $100 and the cost of the kiln. You could have a nice little cooker. I know Jim was looking for some stuff to grind with. I got all that crap too. You know, I found an old hacksaw. Not hacksaw. What do you call them things? This apron off here. Bandsaw by the road. Little Taiwanese piece of junk. I made this one too. A little 6-inch saw. Kind of made it. Trim saw. And I made this made this machine out of an old bandsaw for doing the intarsia work. It's an instant intarsia machine. I used some old parts I had laying around. It's all parts. Bought this from like $100 from a guy, and I had to rebuild. I rebuilt it. I didn't have to, but it was a little leaky and stuff. And I got this off of Dave Brown at the nap in. It's a little 6-inch. I forget the name. It's a. Nah, I forget it. That was just very popular. High-tech. 6-inch high-tech. These grinders are pretty neat. Now I've got an 8-inch disc on there, but it comes as a 6-inch. And you get these on Amazon. This is probably one of your best bets, Jim. And it's like I said, it's $200. And I took I just made a little collar for it, so I could put 8-inch discs on it. But it's a good little machine. I mean, it's, you know, nice and powerful. But there's some of my junk. It's my lathe. I almost kill myself every day in here. It's a good lathe. Had that for quite a few years. Nice and handy to have. And I got piles of wood back there. I got a sawmill, so here's my turkey roaster. Well, I put it in my old kitchen stove in here too. There's a pile of the display cases that I haven't finished. My welding table. 1/2 inch thick steel. Got some tumbling stuff back there in that corner. Built shelves in here years ago. And, this is just one garage I got. That's for sharpening bandsaws for the sawmill. Got piles of wood. That's for making hydraulic hoses. Bandsaw sharpener. Got slabs and wood from the sawmill. Got nice thick boards of walnut, oak, persimmon in there, ash, you name it. There's my exercise equipment that I don't use. Got to get my shoulders built up for bow hunting elk here pretty quick. There's my Harley. Not in very good shape. I mean, it's fine shape, just has a little dirt on it. Haven't used it. Carla won't let me ride it no more. That's a box for kiln drying wood for making chairs, making Windsor chairs and stuff. That case back there is for making bows. That's also a kiln for making bows. Yeah, I got more stuff. I organized. It took me a week or more, but I redid my rocks here, made it a little better. Bought these shelves at Costco. They hold 2 tons a shelf, and I think I'm right about at the limit for 2 tons on each shelf. And I went and bought a second one so I could put more rocks and stuff up. So they come in pretty handy. But there's the old saw. All right, so if you guys got any questions about just blew up a toy for the grandkids will be here this week. You guys got any questions about the kiln, I'll answer them for you. All right. Have a blessed day, a blessed week, and a blessed life.